Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. My guest today is Carlos Vecchio, who was appointed by Juan Guaido, Venezuela's self-proclaimed interim president, as his representative to the United States, a key position, of course. Thank you very much for joining us from Washington, D.C., Mr. Vecchio.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Mr. Vecchio, Venezuela's power struggle is heading towards a decisive day, maybe. February 23rd, this Saturday, Juan Guaido has vowed to have caravans of aid, humanitarian aid, enter Venezuela from Colombia or maybe Brazil or the Caribbean. Nicolas Maduro, the president, has replied that he would not allow this and instead use other means to stop this. Is Saturday a decisive day for the future of Venezuela?
Well, as you know, we are facing the worst humanitarian crisis of our recent history. And that's why we have put this on the debate. We are calling for the support of the international community to send food and medicines to the Venezuelans inside of Venezuela. And we are preparing to send those foods and medicines this coming Saturday. This will create, of course, tensions in Venezuela, and mainly within the military force. We have requested to our army force to allow the enter of those foods and medicine because that will stop, in part, the suffering of the Venezuelans. So we are just putting all the pressures on the streets, inside of the military force, and of course, asking for the support of the international community to increase that pressure that will help us to do what we want to do, just sending those food and medicine to our country.
Very concretely, what will happen on Saturday? Obviously, there is this bridge between Venezuela and Colombia, but obviously the border is much longer than this bridge. Are you going to try to get this aid through other border checkpoints or other places? What's the plan for Saturday?
Yes, I won't give you all the details, but what I can tell you now is that we are using different point of entrance to Venezuela, not only in the border of Colombia, in which we will have different channels, and also from the border with Brazil and the Caribbean. So we will have different point of entrance, and this is not a one single event. I mean, we want to continue doing this in the days to come. So that will create momentum for us. And at the same time, we are calling for demonstrations, not only in the borders with Brazil and Colombia, but also in the rest of the country. So you will see a lot of movement in the days to come that will create important events in Venezuela that will, facilitate, in our view, not only the entrance of the food and medicine, but also, to push harder on the transition in our country.
Obviously, the concern that you hinted to is violence. What if the military, as they have vowed again, they've said they vowed an unrestricted, quote-unquote, loyalty to Nicolas Maduro. What if they do not allow this aid? Do you fear there could be violence, blood, and death?
It will depend on the military force. That's why we have been very clear with them. We have sent clear messages to all of them, and that they need to be on the side of the people. And they have been saying that Maduro doesn't want to allow the food and medicine because Maduro doesn't need it. He doesn't care. I mean, you can see the cruelty of this regime. But the soldiers, the troops, they need it. They know that. They are suffering. The same thing ordinary people are suffering.
But they're siding with Nicolas Maduro for now. I mean, we haven't seen them leaving Maduro. They have sent clear messages also to us. Let me tell you, I mean, there are more than 200 top officers, military officers, in jail right now. They have been tortured now. They are sending threats against their family. Also, the last demonstration that we have had in the last 2 weeks, they haven't repressed our people. And some of them has expressed our support publicly. So you have seen clear messages from the military force, supporting us. Of course, we want to have the entire institution, and that's why we are putting all the tension and pressure right now on the military force. And we have, some days to come. And in my view, at the end of the day, they will support what we are doing because this is the change. This is the future. Maduro doesn't represent anything now. Maduro, doesn't go anywhere. And they know that. And they know that the food and medicine that we are putting in the borders with Venezuela, you know, are needed for the people of Venezuela. So at the end of the day, they will back what we are doing. They will support the Constitution, and they will be on our side.
But how much is this wishful thinking? I mean, obviously, we've seen Donald Trump, the U.S. president, tell the military that they would lose everything. Are you hoping that this Saturday and the coming days, the military will actually allow the aid in and then send a message to Nicolas Maduro that they are not behind him anymore? Is this what you're hoping for, realistically?
You know, no, this is not a wishful thinking. I would say, again, we are putting different type of pressures on Maduro, not only the military force. Again, we have the people on the streets as never before, claiming for their rights and defending the Constitution, and we will see that also this coming Saturday, 23rd. We are putting pressure from the National Assembly, our Congress, the only elected institution in our country, to continue with the transition process, and also from the international community. And these three different levels of pressure is also pushing the military force to take a decision at this moment in time. We have had private conversation with some of them, with the important one. So we have that information as well, and they know that. So what we need to do is just continue our fight until we achieve what we want, which is a peaceful transition in Venezuela at the end of the day. And again, this is only one single event. But what we want to do is just continue with the humanitarian aid that we won't stop, and also sending a clear message to the Venezuelan that this humanitarian aid could be more massive if we take, you know, full control of the government in the near future.
Right. What about the U.S. support? I just mentioned Donald Trump. A lot of this humanitarian aid was brought to the areas near Venezuela by the U.S. Obviously, there are accusations coming from the Maduro camp, but not only that you're essentially a puppet of the U.S. We know Juan Guaido had some exchanges with top Trump administration officials. You've had some, obviously. How do you do to move away from that?
No, I mean, the clear message here is that this is a movement led by Venezuelans, led by Juan Guaidó,
not by Donald Trump,
by the interim president of Venezuela. No, I mean, who is mobilizing the people in Venezuela? Who is mobilizing the people of Venezuela? The Venezuelans, who are putting their life at risk. Venezuelans, we have put in place our agenda, and we are being asking for the support of the international community. And we want to thank President Trump for what they have done here, but also all the Latin American countries. They have supported our movement, and also the most important countries in the European Union. So this is a fight between the free world against the dictatorship, but this is a clear movement led by Venezuelans, and the defense of the democracy is taking place now in our country. So we have to be very proud about that. So even France has been a very important ally in the European continent. So, and they have been supporting what we are doing, and we are receiving also help and support from the humanitarian aid. So that's quite important. And in my view, the European countries must increase the pressure right now in order to put an end of this dictatorship in Venezuela. If the U.S. impose sanctions here in America, the Chavismo regime, the Maduro regime is going to Europe. So you need to close that door if we want to increase the pressure and to find a peaceful solution in our country. So it's quite relevant that we are fighting with the most important countries around the globe against this dictatorship.
Right. I mean, ideally, what do you see happening? Juan Guaido, have said the time for dialogue is over with Nicolas Maduro. Normally, elections are supposed to be held very soon. I mean, how do you see this unfolding? What would you like to see happening? Pressure, sanctions, yes. But with Maduro, what do you want? Dialogue or not?
Okay, as I said to you, we are putting pressure on the street from the National Assembly and from the international community. If we continue increasing this pressure, we will have a peaceful solution at the end of the day.
Meaning Maduro resigning?
Yes, leaving the country. If that's the only option that we have to find a peaceful solution, we're open to that to that solution. But keeping in mind that if we don't increase the pressure, that won't happen. And the only way to increase pressure is just putting all what we have now, because this is the time, and to find this peaceful resolution.
Right, but if it doesn't happen in the next few days, Maduro has been able to hold on. I mean, will this be the last opportunity that if nothing moves in the next few days, we might come to a standstill?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we are in an irreversible process of change. Keep that in mind. People of Venezuela just looking for a change. They can extend the agony, but never will be able to stop the change. So in my view, that change will come anytime soon. So what we need to do is just to increase the pressure, as I said before, and the change will come. Absolutely fully confident on what I'm saying. And we have a clear agenda that we have placed in Venezuela. We need to end the usurpation of power. We need to set a transitional government according to our constitution, and we want to hold a free and transparent election in which the international community will help us to observe those elections.
Carlos Vecchio, thank you very much for your time. We'll be obviously watching very closely the events unfolding in Venezuela and close to Venezuela in the next few days. Thank you for watching this edition of The Interview here on France 24.